I'm German by birth and proudly European, and I think it is incumbent on us to really protect ourselves from what's happening in the United States under Trump, but also from the shenanigans that China is pulling, for example, just right now with the rare earth ban that really cripples our industry. And by doing that, I think it's really helpful to look at what makes these countries strong. And so one concept that I've come across that I found really interesting is the Chinese concept of Neijuan. And so Neijuan, what it does is it's basically a concept of massive competition, right? Of almost warfare. And I think Europeans will do well to understand what's actually going on in China and the companies that we are having to compete with. For me, in Germany, I think a lot of things are not that competitive anymore. I'm not saying that there aren't industries out there that are hyper competitive, but in general, everything feels a little bit slow or a little bit sleepy. In China, there's 1,000 people trying the same business idea, right? And so the competition there is massive. And any company that we encounter in Europe, in Germany, that we have to compete with is usually the survivor of 1,000 companies that started with the original same idea, right? And of course, they're going to be much more fitter than just any random French, Italian, Spanish company that has not actually had to compete as badly. And this is somewhat ironic because if you think about Europeans, this actually describes our native countries, right? Because what made us strong historically is that we had so much competition inside of Europe that once we mastered that competition, the rest of the world was open to us because we could just go anywhere and compete there, right? And so we have to be a little bit careful that China isn't using our own strength against us, meaning having national competition first that creates companies that are hyper strong and then sets them loose on the rest of the world, because this is what we used to do, and I think this is what they are doing. And I think a lot of Europeans aren't aware of how competitive actually a lot of these Chinese companies are. And this is not even talking about the government support that they're getting, but if we are competing against a Chinese company, usually it's the survivor of 1,000 or 5,000 companies, entrepreneurs who've tried the same thing, who are hyper aggressive, and we got to be a little bit careful not to underestimate that, and maybe be a little bit more competitive internally so that we can actually keep up with them.